And a good Monday morning, Eagle fans. How are you? Hopefully, all is well. Hopefully, you had a happy, healthy, and safe July 4th weekend. Glad to be back on you here with Birds 365. You got your Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald. J Mac, how was your 4th of July lengthy weekend?
Spectacular. Neighborhood stuff. Trying to be the block captain for all that.
Really?
That's my wife. I try to stay away from everybody as much as possible. But yeah, it was nice to get a little respite. Got to get some reps. 3 weeks away from first practice. 3 weeks from yesterday.
Right.
Eagles
Less than 3 weeks now.
Now they report, but the first practice, we're 3 weeks away from the first practice. So getting close. The clock is ticking.
And quick story, and then we'll talk football for 2 hours. Where were you at approximately, I guess it was around 5:40 yesterday, somewhere after 5:30, slightly after 5:40, when the monsoon came through South Jersey?
Trying to get little flags. My wife puts these little flags in the front of the house, trying to get them up before the monsoon blew them away. So it's about we got some. You got something on there, Jody? I don't think it's me, but I hear something in the background.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is either. Yeah,
we got
got to be something on my end. Let me see if I could lose that. Don't know exactly what the problem is. Let's see if
could be an ESPN tab if you got that open. They play.
Yeah, the only tab I got open now is our show. I'm not sure what it is, but I will try and fix it. But where were you when the monsoon hit?
I was trying to get stuff up so it wouldn't blow away really quickly. Then there was we had a second monsoon. We're both in South Jersey, but a little ways away from each other. So we had a second monsoon sort of overnight. So yeah, storms were pretty bad. It's been that way for a while though. And in between, you still got the knuckleheads with the fireworks, man. They didn't stop. And now, as a dog owner, I'm not a big fan of fireworks, so
understood.
I freely admit that.
The fireworks weren't bad in my neighborhood, but my daughter came back up from the shore, got a ride, and she needed a ride into Philly. So she asked me to take her into Philly, and she lives in Fairmount Park, which is close to where they were going to have the fireworks display. So I had to have to take a different road in than I usually did. But, oh, my God, we had to pull over on Route 70 here in South Jersey. It was raining so hard, the windshield wiper couldn't get the water off the front of my windshield fast enough. And pulled over in a little strip mall, which I knew was on a bit of an angle, because you could literally see waves going down Route 70. The height on the middle of the road was up to the middle of cars. And I luckily got off in just enough time, not even a third of the way to my daughter's house in Philadelphia. And we just sat there for a half an hour. Couldn't move. It was just the entire roadway was underwater, and we had to wait for it to stop raining first, which took 20 minutes, and another 10 minutes for all the water to just drain off the roads. It was nasty out there. If anyone else got caught out in it like I did, thankful that you're good enough to be in front of your computer and watching us here on Birds 365 yesterday, because I literally thought my car was going to float away with me and my daughter in it.
I've been there. Usually after a Giants/Jets game coming back on the turnpike for some reason. And I'm that knucklehead that tries to power through at all costs. It's probably better to do what you did and just stop and let it blow over. That's probably the right way to do it. But yeah, man. When they and Route 42 for the people in South Jersey, that bloods. When those things blood, yeah, it's best if you have a place to pull over, just pull over.
Just get over. I don't know that I've ever done it for rain before. I've done it several times for snow where I said, yeah, you're going nowhere fast. Get the hell to the side of the road, put the blinkers on. But yesterday was a little bit scary. But we're glad to be here on Birds 365 today because, as John noted, less than 3 weeks to the opening of camp, 3 weeks exactly to the first practice. Or should we say the first athletic gathering? Because I'm not sure the Eagles actually practice. But I might be mincing words here. John, before we get into what we're looking forward to, looking back, you made it over to Milt Williams and Zach McPherson's 7-on-7 camp. How did that go the other day? I saw you put some social media posts up on it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was also eye-opening because I think I say it all the time. Innovation trickles up because people in the NFL tell me that, and even more so to the college level. It starts at the high school level. That's where the real innovation is going on. And boy, these kids are so advanced, Jody. I mean, and Rob Kessner, who's producer for NBC 10, does the Eagles stuff. He's going to be on the show later in the week. He was there. I give him a lot of credit because he's done a lot of high school stuff over the years for NBC, and he's really plugged in on those guys, who's good, who's not good. And he was telling me about this kid from Roman Catholic. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm, to be honest, I'm kind of half listening, and I'm sure he's good for a high school kid. Unbelievable, Jody.
Really?
Unbelievable. His name is Samaj Beals, for those who know local high school from Roman Catholic. He's already got an offer from Alabama. He's a sophomore, and he's got an offer from Alabama, which I checked out is completely true, completely legit. He's got arm talent that is unbelievable. And Rob's
Now
kind
he's
of
going
talking
into his, he's finishing up his sophomore year this year. So next year he's going to be a junior.
Yes. Now he's very slight and he looks like a sophomore. He's not ready physically to play at a high level. But evidently all these high-level high school programs, they go around and play these 7-on-7 tournaments, basically weekly. So, when you talk about the quarterbacks and the receivers and defensively the corners, they're so much more advanced than they used to be. They're playing these things like a traveling baseball team all over the place. And I was talking to Zach, and he was like, DeMatha wanted to play, but he wanted to keep it small and local. This is the first time they've done it. So there are 3 South Jersey schools and Roman Catholic. But in the future, they want to increase it. And, there's IMG Academy, which is famous now because everybody Nolan Smith went there. Kids travel all across the country to finish their high school careers there. St. Joe's Prep here is sort of turned into that. But I mean, the advancement of these kids at a young level is, I was in awe of that kid particularly. There's like NFL throws, and he's a sophomore in high school. You could see, like, why is Alabama sniffing around this kid? 10 minutes after I saw him throw, I said, oh, okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But it was pretty eye-opening because people have told me that for years, but I don't watch high school football. I haven't seen high school football in years. I don't know what's going on at the high school level. I don't have time for it. It's amazing how advanced things have gotten in the passing game, which kind of explains the evolution at the NFL level.
Yeah, since my daughter graduated from high school almost 10 years ago, I haven't been following high school football since. But she was in high school, and some of her buddies were on the team. We'd go over for the Friday night games here in town, walk over to our high school. I haven't paid near as much attention either, but this 7-on-7 stuff, sounds like it's a great way to develop at least skilled position players. And
Yeah.
good on.
Well, that's the thing. And, it also makes sense why NFL teams always
Yeah,
complain.
why the hell was Milt Williams there?
Yeah,
Does anybody block on 7-on-7?
Milt was joking. By the way, Milton apologized for missing the show, but
did Zach apologize for missing as well?
I don't think Zach knew he was booked for the show. Milton knew. He came up with a big hug and apologized, so it was legitimate. And he flew in from. He lives in the North Texas area, much like one of our producers.
Soon to be.
Soon to be. He flew in and blew out for this particular tournament. Now he wants to set up his own near Frisco, Texas, and he and Zach have the same agent, the same marketing firm. They happen to be drafted by the same team. They worked out together before the draft, before they knew they'd be teammates, obviously at the pro level. So, yeah, he was just there to support Zach pretty much. And he was joking. It's been a while since he played 7-on-7, but he did play 7-on-7 back in his younger days. Yeah. And, that's what I was getting at. The NFL people also say, and this is where the Eagles have the huge advantage with offensive linemen. Everybody complains there's no offensive linemen. There's no offensive linemen. And when they are, they're pretty raw, and you got to develop them at the pro level. It's because all they're doing is playing 7-on-7. But that's all they're doing at the pro level now.
True.
With the Eagles.
That's all the Eagles do.
Yeah. So it's really difficult. And even the teams that do the normal team drills and mini camps and OTAs, it doesn't help the offensive linemen because there's no contact. They can work on their footwork, I guess, the positioning, things like that, a little bit. But if you take out the contact, so that's for training camp and when the pads come on. But that's explains the dearth of offensive linemen. And, when the Eagles get offensive linemen, develop offensive linemen, that's why they do it. That's why they value it so much, because they're really, really hard to find.
Oh, then you would think it would have some effect on the ability to play defensive line too, both inside and outside. Outside, you can at least work on your speed and tap the quarterback on the bum, because you're not allowed to actually hit quarterbacks in any of these drills either. Seems to have less of a negative effect on them, and they're not really doing it either. But I hear the point you're making about offensive linemen. All right, J-Mac, we got our buddy Mike Gill making his usual Wednesday appearance coming up in just over 5 minutes from now. So wanted to get this in. This is the season of lists. Everybody's got their lists. Nobody's playing. Nobody's doing anything. 3 weeks till camps open up, so everybody's putting out a list these days, as are you and Eddie K from Sports Illustrated. 25 top 25 Eagles heading into the season. We got to add some names because we were off Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. So when last we were on your list, you were at number 15 with Fletcher Cox. He was your 15th ranked Philadelphia Eagle. Your next four include two DBs, Avonte Maddox 14, Brandon Graham 13, James Bradbury 12, and Landon Dickerson. Man, as he moved up the list pretty damn fast at number 11. You got Bradbury and Avonte Maddox both in the top 14. You still got a DB yet to go on the outside. You and Ed think highly of the Eagles cornerbacks this year.
Yeah, well, how could you not? I mean, they were both Pro Bowlers. Slay for the 5th time last season. Bradbury, second team All Pro for the first time. I mean, those guys were just unbelievable. And they kind of, Slay had the great first half. Bradbury had the great second half. And they were, it's one of those things with Slay specifically more than Bradbury. He had the great first half and kind of fell off a little bit in the second half. I think everybody kind of blew that out of proportion because just, the old bringing up all the time, the regression to the mean. you can't play at that level. You go back to the Justin Jefferson game. He shut down the best receiver in football. That's one of the best cornerback games I've ever seen. It's one of the best cornerback games I've ever seen. Then you add the age into the equation. People are scared. 32, going to be 31 on New Year's Day next year. At some point, it's going to slope off. So I'm not trying to say that's not going to happen. But when you look at the Eagles' corners and include Avonte Maddox in that, it's as good as it gets in the NFL right now.
I would say they have the best threesome in the NFL as well. I put out my 25 since you guys did yours. I had Maddox at number 15 was the last one we did before taking the long weekend. I had Fletcher Cox at 14. You had him at 15. We had the same two guys just in reverse order. I had Carter higher than you did. You said you and Ed wouldn't go any higher because he's never played in the NFL. I guess I'm doing a little bit more projecting to put him at 13.
And you'll probably be right, by the way, because I'm very high on Jalen.
I know you're high on the player, but I wanted to keep it in a specific, got to do something on the field first before being projected. I gave him a little bit more slack. I got Dallas Goedert at number 12, and you guys haven't had Dallas Goedert on your list yet, so we know he's in your top 10. I had him at number 12. And yeah, I got Slay at number 11, who you have higher as well because you haven't gotten there. I do expect a little bit of a drop-off from Darius. And specifically last year, you mentioned that game early in the season against Minnesota. I thought you actually saw regression over the course of the year. And when you do get in your 30s, that is something you keep a tight eye on because it's just human nature that the older you get, the less productive you are. Mother Nature starts to take over. Your body just isn't what it used to be. I'm not saying that Slay's going to get burnt for a whole bunch of touchdowns this year. I think Howie Roseman played those cards like a master this past year. Just enough information out there that the Eagles could release the Slay. He got nervous. He got worried. Open market. His agent probably shopped him. Wasn't going to get the kind of dollars that the Eagles were at least offering in a renegotiation to get his cap number down this year and then tack on the future years. And before you know it, boom, Slay's got a new contract extension with the Philadelphia Eagles at what seems to be a very fair rate. Some of these reindeer games that Howie Roseman plays, he's just phenomenal at. And doing the Darius Slay contract was one of them. I do think we're going to see Darius Slay as not one of the top 2 or 3 corners in the league, where he has been at times during his career. I don't think that's in the offing anymore. And I have a Eagle cornerback yet to get to on my list that I have in my top 10 that you guys just floated out there. So we'll see how the quarterbacks actually play themselves out, but we still agree that the Eagles have the best threesome as far as 3 cornerbacks go, the best threesome in the National Football League. And I don't know if the team that's second best is even close to that.
Yeah, it's a good group, and Howie went into that process thinking he could get 2 of the 3 back, 2 of the 3 secondary players, and it kind of toggled back and forth. I think a lot of people assumed Slay would be 1 right off the bat because he was under contract, but they were just going to have to renegotiate that contract. So as things spelled, I think early the Eagles thought Bradbury would be priced out of their range. All of a sudden he comes back at a decent number, and that changed things. And then CJ held. If CJ would have accepted the offer, Slay would probably be in Baltimore, to be honest. But CJ was upset and thought he was disrespected. And the Eagles said, all right, we're going to try to work things out with Slay. Remember, he and his wife said goodbye to Philadelphia. I mean, they were out the door on the way down south, I-95 to Baltimore. They were out the freaking door. And Howie's like, all right, let's revisit this. And they were able to work something out. And that's because CJ wouldn't accept the contract offer. So it kind of worked out the way it worked out. They wanted to get 2 of the 3 back. They got 2 of the 3 back. I think the original assumption was it was going to be Slay and CJ, and Bradbury would be out. And then it turned into Bradbury and CJ, and Slay would be out. And ultimately it ended up to be Slay and Bradbury. And they kept the cornerback group together. And they got 2 of the 3, which is what they expected.
And now the
So
question.
and by the way, the two best players too. CJ splashy, but not nearly as consistent as Slay and Bradbury. Different
Yeah,
position, but
the only thing CJ has going for him is a little younger than Bradbury and Slay. So they took the more veteran route. But you're right, the guys who projecting coming into the season probably the two best of the three players. We shall see. He's John McMullen. I'm Jordan McDonald. We are Birds 365. Good to be back. Hopefully everybody had a great, nice, safe after yesterday's rain. Oh my God, that was scary. A long holiday weekend. We're glad to be back talking Birds football with you. We will get our buddy Mike Gill from down the shore up next to help us add to the Birds conversation here on Birds 365.